In this video, I'm going to talk about sensitivity. What can you do if you are sensitive, or what can you do if you are dating someone who is very sensitive? Hi my darlings, welcome to Be Strong and Love Yourself, a channel for very strong people. I'm Dasha Bisali and I created this channel to share some information about self-love and happiness. And by nature I'm a very sensitive person, so I've been through a lot of mean thoughts, and sometimes I have a lot of pain because of my sensitivity. So I decided that I will share some tips of how I deal with it. And also, I want to share some ideas for someone who is dating a sensitive person, because I know that it might be hard sometimes to date someone like me and who is sensitive. And first of all, I want to explain what do I mean by sensitive. And I will bring an example from physical sensations, not so much from emotional, just to describe what I mean. Imagine that you got a sunburn and your skin is very, very sensitive. It is so sensitive that you cannot even take a shower, and if you take it, you feel a lot of pain. In normal circumstances, when we take a shower, it should be a pleasant experience most of the times, but if your skin is very sensitive, it might be painful. So this is how it is with emotions. It's the same. There are some people who are more sensitive, and every little thing, even the one that might be pleasant for others, can make them upset. And they react to a lot of things. I will talk about reaction a little bit later, but just try to understand that certain things that for you might be extremely normal and not a big deal, for a sensitive person can mean a lot and can cause a lot of pain. Now I want to describe couple of reasons why people can be sensitive, and reason number one is genes. Some people are just born this way. I'm not a scientist or a therapist, but as far as I know, there are genes that can make people more anxious. And if you are anxious by nature, this is how you are. And the reason number two is experiences that we have in life. And if you had some negative experiences, you can become even more sensitive, because our experiences, they trigger specific genes and they can turn them on and off. And you can become even more sensitive if you had some difficulties in the past. Now I want to share with you some tips that help me to deal with my sensitivity. Not to get rid of it, it's very important to understand, but to deal with it. And tip number one is to see through the pain. So when I experience some pain, instead of just reacting and do something about it, I like to sit through it first and to process it, kind of to prove myself that experiencing pain doesn't really mean anything bad. It's just part of life, and I don't have to react every time I have negative emotions. And I want to prove myself that I can sit through it and then kind of prove myself that it will pass and everything will be fine. If I always try to avoid painful sensations and painful emotions, then I will not be able to prove myself that I can sit through it, and I will be even more anxious. So I do like to sit through the pain first and then think of what I can do about the situation. Tip number two is meditation. It's very similar to tip number one, but when you meditate, you don't have to experience pain, but you're observing your emotions and your thoughts. And it's very important to understand what's going on in your head, what can trigger your mind, and what can create some negative thoughts patterns. So I think it's very important to meditate. I try to meditate daily and be the observer of your own thoughts, just again in order to understand yourself and to know what exactly can make you upset. And then when the event takes place, you will know also how you react and how you deal with it. Then I need to check my notes because, of course, my memory is not that great. Okay, so tip number 3 is don't try to blame others in your sensitivity. Some people are less sensitive and they might say something that will hurt you, but these people, they wouldn't think that it might be painful or unpleasant. Again, as when I come back to my example with the shower, for some people shower is pleasant, for some people it's painful. And it might be a joke, it might be just some regular conversation that makes you upset. And try not to just come into conclusions and blame other people and think that everyone is mean. Try to understand what exactly made you upset, and try to put yourself into other person's shoes and think like, oh, well, maybe for this person it's not a big deal. And blaming in any way doesn't really help. And if there's someone who really emotionally abuses you, then try just to stop talking to this person. But if it's just was misunderstanding and the person didn't mean to hurt you, just talk about it, but try not to blame. And this kind of leads me to tip number 4, which is speak up and share how you feel. Again, because other people, they don't know what's going on in your head, especially if you try to build relationships with another person. It's very important to share your feelings, your emotions, and your pain. And if you're scared and if something is unpleasant, it's very important. Don't keep it to yourself and share it, because you want to build relationships based on reality. And if you pretend that you are someone you are not, these relationships most likely will not work out. So it's very important to, if you are sensitive, tell the person you are dating that you are sensitive, and tell your friends that you are sensitive. I don't know, your family members, but don't hide it, don't be ashamed of it, and try to share it. Now I want to share some ideas for someone who is dating a sensitive person. And I know that might be not very easy, but there is another side of sensitivity, that sensitive people are usually nice. So there could be benefits, not only negative things. But the idea number 1, which is extremely important, is don't expect, if you are dating a sensitive person, don't expect this person to change all of a sudden and become less sensitive. As I mentioned, sensitivity might depend on genes and previous experiences. And if someone has these experiences and these genes, most likely the person will not change. And believe me, I work a lot on myself and my self-development, and I try to be mindful. But it doesn't mean that I became less sensitive. I just learned how not to react on my sensitivity and how to process my pain, but I still have it. So if you start dating someone, or you're dating someone who is very sensitive, please don't try to change this person and make them less sensitive, because I think it's impossible. Just be honest with yourself. Then the other idea that I want to share is just try to be not very judgmental. Sometimes people were laughing at my sensitivity and they were like, oh, you're too sensitive, haha. Yes, I am, but it's not too funny sometimes. Sometimes it's very painful for me. And instead of judging someone who's very sensitive and someone who can get upset about little things, try to be understanding and compassionate. It's not that easy to be sensitive. It's not easy. And if you are with someone, your partner, and your partner, instead of supporting you, judging you, it's extremely hard. So please don't be judgmental. And a very important idea is try to show that you care. I think that for sensitive people, it means a lot. And it can be, you can say that you care. I think it's awesome when you just say something like, I care about you, don't worry. Or you can show it through your actions, which is also great. You can do something, little things for your partner. if you're dating someone sensitive. And also try to show that you understand your sensitive partner. And idea number 4 is sensitive people can be very slow in their reaction. For me, if I go through something that I find negative or painful, I need to process it. And sometimes I need some time in order to even to reply. So someone can tell me something and I experience pain and I don't want to react and to say something bad in return. So I wait till this pain goes away, so the conversation can be a little bit harder with a sensitive person, just because I personally need to process information first to calm down my emotions before I even understand what's going on. When I experience pain, for me it's hard to be mindful and to be smart, I should say. When I feel pain, I'm not very smart and I'm not very wise, and I can say something that I would regret about. So that's why in conversations I can be very slow and I can be silent, but not because I disrespect the person I talk to or I don't care, but just because I want to calm down first. And it might take time, and then when I calm down a little bit, then I can put myself together and I can have a conversation. So it might be delayed conversation. So when you deal with sensitive person, be prepared to this delayed conversation. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have it. I think that if there are some concerns in relationships, people need to discuss them, as I mentioned earlier, but it might be delayed a little bit. So these are my tips and my ideas, and I think that the most important part again is to remember that we're all different, and to be understanding and have compassion towards each other. And I think it's beautiful that when you try to understand yourself and you kind of rediscover yourself all the time, and you know what's going on and you accept yourself the way you are. I accepted my sensitivity, and I kind of even like it sometimes, because the sensitivity is not only a bad thing, it also helps me to be nicer to people, to understand them better, and to be more compassionate and understanding by myself. Because I experience a lot of pain, I am able to understand other people and understand that their pain as well. So maybe that even helps me to work on my channel and to create videos, because I know how hard it can be when you are sensitive, when you experience emotional pain. And when you are dating someone who is sensitive, it's not always a bad thing. Again, your sensitive partner can be very kind and understanding and compassionate, and most likely would not want to hurt you, because they know what it means to be hurt. So please don't think of sensitivity only as a bad thing and some challenge, but it's also a good thing. And try to accept yourself the way you are, or if you are with someone and your partner is sensitive, please accept the sensitivity, don't try to change it, as I said. This is it for today. I hope it was helpful. Please share your thoughts in comments, and please like my video and subscribe to my channel. It helps a lot with YouTube algorithm, and I love to read your comments. And don't forget, be strong and love yourself. Love wins always.